is a wild ride through the golden age of spy films, where we delve into a film project that is as thrilling as it is bizarre.
Monsieur, your ticket.
It's the story of Bonditis, a Swiss James Bond parody film that achieved cult status. Here are 5 facts that make this film truly unique. 5 facts about Bonditis. Picture this. It's a sunny day in the Swiss Alps, sometime in the mid-1960s. James Bond is at the height of his popularity, and parodies are popping up like mushrooms. 3 young filmmakers are trekking through the mountainous landscape, sharing their excitement about spy movies. Right then and there, the idea to create their own Bond-inspired film takes shape. They have no idea that this will be their first and last feature film. Yet it will go on to become a cult classic, one of the most extraordinary films in Swiss cinema history.
Is your name Bond?
Yes, I'm Mr. Bond. Frank Bond.
The film we're talking about is Bonditis, a 1967 production, right in the golden age of Bond parodies.
Terence Cooper is James Bond. Barbara Boucher is James Bond. Ursula Andress is James Bond.
By that time, there were already more parodies than Bond films. Carry On Spying, Agent 077, L'Homme de Rio, OK Connery, and many, many more. But perhaps the finest parody of the era came from Bond producer Harry Saltzman himself. The trilogy featuring the anti-Bond Harry Palmer, played by Michael Caine. Palmer was a key inspiration for the Austin Powers films, with the standout moment being Caine's own direct parody of Harry Palmer in Goldmember, where he portrayed Austin Powers' father, Nigel Powers.
Dad! Hello, son.
The Harry Palmer film stood out because the main character wasn't just a carbon copy of James Bond, but rather his antithesis.
You've got to help me.
But you're just too hot, Palmer.
Carl Suter understood this as well. A parody character shouldn't be like the original. It should be the exact opposite. His Frank Bourne is no Bond. He's a young man plagued by vivid dreams, where he finds himself in thrilling skirmishes or steamy romances.
I'm turning into a nervous wreck.
The psychiatrist diagnoses acute Bonditis.
It's less harmful than you think it is. I'd say your soul is infected with a virus, almost as simple as chickenpox.
And sends him off for a cure to the tranquil Swiss village of Margaux-Goun to recuperate. What neither of them knows is that Margaux-Goun is hosting a secret international conference with Russian, American, and African delegations. Behind the scenes, however, spies are lurking. Agents from the Russian Secret Service, the CIA, Chinese operatives, and a private espionage group known as the Harp Gang. When Bourne encounters the American agent Hatter Sari, who mistakes him for Agent 006½, chaos ensues.
But you are 006½.
000 nothing. I'm Frank Bourne and I'm on the road to recovery and I...
The film playfully mocks the James Bond frenzy, while also touching on Western society's anxieties about Soviet spies and the so-called Yellow Peril from Asia. Exoticism is used here primarily as a source of humor. While Bond effortlessly travels the globe, this film gathers the entire world in a small Swiss village the size of a postage stamp. This microcosm called Margaux-Goun has everything one expects from a Bond film. Spy action, conflicts between secret services and villains, cutting-edge spy gadgets, exotic locations, a good dose of eroticism, and of course, no Bond-inspired film would be complete without the Bond girl. And let me tell you, the Bonditis girls are something else. Our hero, Frank Bourne, played by Geert Baltus, experiences dreams that are otherworldly. In one such dream, a seductive blonde in a negligee beckons him to lie on the bed.
Get into bed.
These moments are reminiscent of the classic clichés of female Bond villains. Just think of Xenia Onatop from GoldenEye, who literally crushes her foes between her thighs.
Ah, yes. I know that.
Later, Bourne encounters a naked woman, played by Christiane Rücker, relaxing in a tin bathtub in a barn, who invites him to scrub her back.
Come here. Scrub my back, will you?
She's introduced simply as the Blonde.
Go on, do as you're told.
A name owed either to creative laziness or a clever reduction of the Bond girl archetype to its core. Almost 50 years later, Christiane Rücker reveals that playing such a cliched blonde was completely ordinary for her at the time. Christiane Rücker also revealed that Marion Jakob was the girlfriend of director Karl Suter, which might explain why she got to play the lead role, that of the actual top-secret agent, CIA spy Hata Sari.
She's not from around here. For some reason, she looks foreign.
Hata Sari is a nod to the famous dancer and spy Margarete Gertrude Zeller, better known as Mata Hari. Interestingly, in the Bond parody Casino Royale, which also came out in 1967, there's a character named Mata Bond, supposedly the daughter of Mata Hari and James Bond.
At the moment, I feel somewhat confused.
And now back to Hata Sari. In her first scene, her boss briefs her on her mission, revealing the casual sexism of the 1960s. He speaks with a lecherous tone that feels quite uncomfortable by today's standards.
You're quite a girl. I'd love to be your enemy.
The audience was supposed to laugh at this. Nowadays it seems rather creepy or odd or perhaps disturbing. When the gadget expert turns up, Hata Sari is given a range of special tools. A poisoned perfume, a lipstick gun, and even instant anti-birth pills. A reference to the debate about the birth control pill at the time.
Women, too, demanded rights.
As if all the inconsequential one-night stands of the notorious bachelor James Bond were due to a pill from the British Secret Service's range of products. Frank Bourne and Hata Sari end up working together, sharing a room in a small hotel. Hata Sari doesn't seem to care about it, treating Bourne like a colleague. This scene shows how Hata Sari is both Bond and Bond girl.
Oh, I do beg your pardon.
It's all right.
She stays in control while still fulfilling the sex object cliché.
He's getting undressed.
What? Let me see.
Let me see.
Let me have a look.
Oh, no, you don't. I got there first.
Bonditis plays with gender dynamics, as James Bond was known for sleeping with other female agents for his own amusement. Yet Bond always used sex to obtain secret information from women. This was also the case in Goldfinger, GoldenEye, A View to a Kill, The Spy Who Loved Me, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, key parts of which were filmed in Switzerland. James Bond's Aston Martin races down the Furka Pass. He's hot on the trail of Goldfinger's golden Rolls-Royce using a tracking device when he encounters the fearless Tilly Masterson, chasing him in a white Mustang convertible. This is the classic Bond experience, capturing the majestic Swiss landscape through the eyes of the iconic secret agent. We remember Bond's breathtaking jump from the dam wall in GoldenEye. However, he did not plunge from a Russian chemical weapons factory, but from the spectacular Lago di Vergorno Dam in the Vesaska Valley. And who can forget the exciting action scenes with the Pilatus Turbo Porter, which were filmed in the Telestock in Obergoms and on the Eiger southwest of Grindelwald. Another memorable Bond opening scene filmed in Switzerland is the ski action sequence in The Spy Who Loved Me, shot in freezing -35°C on the Piz Bernina south of St. Moritz. Equally thrilling is the ski chase in A View to a Kill, in which Roger Moore chases down the Vedrete di Cercien Inferiore Glacier on the Bernina mountain range. Aside from Goldfinger, Bond visits Switzerland and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. We see 007 driving through Bern in a Rolls-Royce, where he discovers that Spectre villain Blofeld is residing on Piet's Gloria, the now world-famous revolving restaurant at the top of the Schildhorn. On Her Majesty's Secret Service was filmed almost entirely in Switzerland, more precisely in Lauterbrunnen, Murren, Heiligenschwendi, Kanderfirn and Bern. The restaurant on the Schildhorn and the heliport were largely financed by the film project. At the Stechelberg base station, the largest stock car arena in Switzerland was built specifically for the movie. Here's a curious fun fact from a ski chase scene. During filming, skier Bernhard Rossi pursued Bond with such determination that he crashed onto the road, fracturing a vertebra and breaking his hand.
Und beim Arzt habe ich geläutet und ich habe gesagt, da ist der Bernhard, ich habe das Genick gebrochen. Und dann hat sie gesagt, ja, ich soll um 2 Uhr wiederkommen, da hätten Sie Sprechstunde.
One more thing. The Bond film Quantum of Solace, directed by Mark Forster, has little to do with Switzerland, except for its Swiss director and Swiss actor Anatole Taubmann, who played the villain's henchman.
Ja, Mami. Es ist schon ein bisschen heiß da.
Let's get back to our main story.
There's more pain than before. I can't move a muscle or I'm in agony. It's fantastic how your imagination works.
Sometime between the films Thunderball and You Only Live Twice, Bonditis began production. Like the classic Heidi, it was filmed in Bergün, Filisur. But how did it come to be? Imagine you're young, full of big dreams, and with an idea that's so crazy, it just might work. That's exactly how it was for 3 young men, Karl Suter, Hans-Peter Roth and Balz Brunner. Their plan? To make a Swiss Bond film. 10 years earlier, Hans-Peter Roth had founded Turnus Film, a production company in Zurich specialized in cinema and television advertising. Now they wanted to conquer the big screen. After such hard work, they raised a budget of 1.3 million Swiss francs. Their dream was taking shape and production could begin.
Gutenswil, unweit von Zürich. Ein Bild friedlicher, dörflicher Besinnlichkeit. Allerdings, es geht bedeutend weniger friedlich zu, sobald man hinter die Fassaden guckt. Hier hat Karl Sutter vor kurzem einen ausgewachsenen Spielfilm fertiggeschnitten, für den die Schweiz als Produktionsland zeichnen kann. Titel Bonditis. Was das heißt, wird sofort klar, wenn man die zu einer Hattasari promovierte St. Gallerin Marion Jakob erbarmungslos ein Rudel von Spionen zur Strecke bringen sieht.
Karl Suter was the team's multi-talented man. He wrote the script, directed and edited the film. He'd previously directed successful comedies like Model Husband, The Man in the Black Derby and Chiquita, and had written popular Swiss musicals like Bibi Baloo and Golden Girl. Roth, now the producer and cinematographer, shot Bonditis in Techniscope and Technicolor, some of the finest color film technology at the time. He honed his visual skills in the United States as a still photographer for the legendary Cecil B. DeMille.
I'd be happy if you were in my old position as top niece instead of nephew. Or I could recommend you to the Russians.
Filming took place in the picturesque village of Bergün, which served as the holiday destination Margogün. The crew moved into a hotel that had been vacant for 50 years and turned it into a studio. The extras were a diverse mix: African medical students studying in Europe, and Chinese amateurs allegedly recruited from a Chinese restaurant in Soho.
呢個雞蛋睇嚟太普通，你出嘅貨完全唔對嘅，我哋要嘅嘢根本完全唔喺度。
Filming wasn't without its challenges. For a spectacular action scene, a log cabin was constructed and then blown up with a significant amount of TNT. The crew had to stand well back to avoid the blast. They were lucky not to trigger an avalanche. The climax of the film and highlight of the shoot took place at a dizzying 2,700 meters above sea level. In this remote location, all equipment had to be carried by foot. The local mountain rescue team was hired for helicopter jumps, while the actors performed their own stunts. It was dangerous, thrilling, and exhausting, an adventure for the film crew. Perhaps it was these experiences that inspired the filmmakers to give the film the unwieldy title Bonditis, or the cruel and terrible adventures of an almost normal person.
Listen, Doctor, it's a question of my life. What shall I do?
Enjoy the mountains, the beauty of life.
They set their sights on an international audience and decided to shoot the film in German, later dubbing it into English. When it then became known that Paramount intended to have the film distributed in Switzerland by its Swiss subsidiary Starfilm, Bonditis was also listed in Hollywood's most important industry trade magazine, Variety. A Swiss Bond film was on its way to conquering the world.
Und im Ausland ist etwas vorgesehen bereits?
Im Ausland ist einiges vorgesehen. Wir sind immer noch in Verhandlung mit Amerikanern. Die Deutschen warten noch, Franzosen warten noch, Spanier warten noch, Italien wartet auf den Film. Und wir warten auf die Amerikaner. Wenn die nämlich sagen, ja, dann nehmen sie den Film für die ganze Welt.
In the end, however, it was not Paramount, but the British company Compton International that secured the worldwide distribution rights. Compton International, one of the most successful British independent film companies of the 1960s, began its journey in the film industry with cheap adult films, before evolving into a full-fledged film studio with its own cinema network. The founders, Michael Klinger and Tony Tenser, had a keen sense for success, acquiring the global rights to numerous major films over the years. It's clear why Compton was interested in Bonditis. The unique mix of comedy, action, and sexiness fit perfectly into their portfolio. Yet strangely, Compton decided to distribute the film worldwide, just not in the UK. Perhaps they were concerned that the humor and cheeky sexual references wouldn't sit well with British audiences, or they were wary of the BBFC's strict censorship regulations. Nonetheless, Compton went all in on marketing, presenting Bonditis at the 1968 Cannes Film Festival with the bold claim that it was the biggest, funniest, colorfulest, zaniest, action-fullest, sexiest film comedy of all time. Compton didn't stop at anything to promote Bonditis pompously. They produced glossy advertising materials, from stylish lobby cards to vibrant press books. The poster is now considered a classic of 1960s poster design. Why such enthusiasm? Could it be due to the film's success in Switzerland? Even before it hit the cinemas, expectations were high enough that it earned the nickname The Echo of Margot Goon. Even the first screenings fueled the hype. In September 1967, Bonditis achieved the highest weekday box office average in Zurich. And it broke records in the first week at the Alhambra Cinema in Bern. People queued up to see the film. The critics were also impressed. The Nationalzeitung Basel noted the thunderous applause from the audience and wrote that the film was technically sophisticated and highly entertaining. Der Bund compared it to Helse Poppen by Henry C. Potter from 1941, while the Schweizer Illustrierte said that Bonditis offered fun for all tastes.
Gefallen hat mir vor allem, dass in der Schweiz mal so ein Film gemacht werden.
To do justice to the local Lederhosen tradition, an alternative title was created for Austrian audiences. Kisses and Shots in the Hayloft, with Bonditis being advertised as a dirndl sex comedy with the subtitle The Heimat Film for Strong Nerves.
There it is, yes. Here we are. It is a pretty egg. Is it yours?
Go, you miserable fathead!
Despite its success in Switzerland, the film was a major box office flop internationally, ending Karl Suter's career as a feature film director. Turner's film returned to producing commercials, and most of those involved, including many actors, never worked in the film business again. Swiss acting veteran Zali Karijet made his farewell performance in a small role, and Marian Jakob vanished from the screen after another TV film. Only Gerd Baltus made the leap and became a popular actor in German television. When the film received its only US review, Variety was quite reserved, writing, "The best thing about this film is its technical side. It benefits from an attractive Technicolor and Techniscope cinematography. The score is quite catchy, and the acting performances are generally fine." Bonditus was only released on VHS in Germany and the US in the 1980s. In the US, the film was briefly released under the underwhelming title The James Bond Virus. Nevertheless, Bonditus remains a unique chapter in Swiss film history. The film is a reminder that filmmakers sometimes take risks in order to create something unique, and even when they fail, they leave a lasting impression. Bonditus skillfully parodies the James Bond formula and exposes the everyday racism, sexism, and exoticism of the time to derision, albeit only in homeopathic doses. And if you look closely, you'll find yourself on an interesting exploratory trip through the sexual morals and sexual politics of the 1960s, which not only made audiences laugh at the time, but perhaps also made them wonder. What remains is something that is hardly known from Switzerland, a cult film. If you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and activate the bell to be notified of new videos. Rediscover Swiss cinema on filmo.ch.